democracy wins. Hungary boots out Trump's favorite authoritarian, Mr. Orbán. Actually, it should be his second favorite authoritarian. His first, his most favorite authoritarian. Maybe his third. His number one is Putin. His number two is probably Kim, right? Kim Jong-un? Anyhow, Orbán is out. I've been talking about Viktor Orbán on this program for forever, right? It's like, well, not literally forever, but my best friend, Jerry Schneiderman, my late best friend, he passed away from COVID 2 years ago. We were in Hungary, in Budapest, when the wall came down in East Berlin. The East Berlin Wall came down, and East German refugees were, pouring into Hungary. And it was the same summer that Viktor Orbán gave his first speech. He was in his 20s. He was a young politician. This was 96, I think. I'd have to go back and look at the year. And Orbán was the great hope. He was going to stand up to Russia. He was going to make Hungary a prosperous nation, all this kind of stuff. And he got elected prime minister a couple of years later, nearly a decade later, actually. And he had one term, and then another guy replaced him. Then the other party took over. His Fidesz party lost control of parliament. And then a couple years after that, he came back. I think it was a 2010 election. I'd have to go back and look at it. He came back, and this time when he came back, just like Trump in his second term, he decided, I'm not going to lose power. And I'm going to get as rich as I possibly can. And so he had his buddies, his oligarch buddies. He invited them in, gave them government contracts. They bought up the media. You know the whole story, right? How corrupt Orbán is. Well, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know this. But landslide victory. His opponent, Peter Magyar, I guess is how it's pronounced. Maybe the G's are pronounced like J's in Hungarian. Peter Magyar has won the election, and now it's a parliamentary system, so neither Orbán or Magyar was actually on the ballot. Whichever party controls parliament nominates and ratifies, or whatever the appropriate word is, the prime minister. So Magyar's party now has the majority, and in fact they got 138 out of 199 seats. Here's why that's important. That's a little over 2/3, and just a handful of votes over 2/3. But the key is the way that Orbán was able to hold on to power for 16 years was by changing the Constitution to basically gerrymander Hungary in a way that it was almost impossible for his party to lose elections. And unless they faced an absolutely overwhelming vote. Hungary typically has election turnouts sort of like ours, in the 60% range. Well, this was 78% turned out on Sunday for this election, which is just overwhelming. And the under 30 vote was over 90% for Magyar. So now Hungary is being welcomed back into the EU. Keep in mind, Orbán was blocking European aid to Ukraine. Let me get the details on this because they're pretty consequential. Yeah, he had blocked a 90 billion euro loan for Ukraine, which they were going to use to buy weapons. $90 billion is a hell of a lot of money, particularly when you're buying, the parts and the chips and things to make, for your own drone industry. And there were other sanctions against Russia that the European Union wanted to do, and they were unanimously going to nail Russia on this stuff. But the EU operates by consensus, much like the UN does. Everybody has to agree. And everybody didn't agree because Orbán refused to go along with that. So he was helping out Putin, basically, in both these cases. Orbán has openly been an ally of Putin's for a decade anyway. And so Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, she says, a country reclaims its European path, the union grows stronger. True. Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, he said, "Back together, glorious victory, dear friends." And then in Hungarian, excuse me, he said, he posted, Russians go home, which was the slogan that Orbán was elected on his first time when he was running, way back in the day. Emmanuel Macron, France's president, said he has spoken with Magyar and congratulated him. The German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, said he is looking forward to working with him. Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is very happy about this and said he wants to advance cooperation with Hungary. This is very, very bad news for Putin. This is very, like, capital V, B, capital B, very bad news for Putin. And this is going to also this is very good news for Hungarians. Hungary has become the poorest country in the European Union, or certainly one of the poorest. I believe it's the poorest. I've read news reports arguing that it's the poorest. I thought Albania was, but whatever. And the reason why it wasn't always that way. I mean, the Austro-Hungarian Empire used to basically rule Europe, or a good chunk of it. Hungary used to be a fairly wealthy nation, and the reason that they're one of the poorest nations is because they've been looted. Orbán put his oligarchs in charge of everything, basically froze the Hungarian equivalent of a minimum wage, basically outlawed the Hungarian equivalent of unions. I mean, he's like a Republican. And the people of Hungary said, no, we don't want this anymore. And I see this not just as a win for democracy and a win for the European Union and a win, and a loss for Putin, but also as a sign of the times. I think that there is an international zeitgeist happening here, a spirit of the times, And I think that Peter Turchin is right about these 40-year cycles. We go 40 years conservative, 40 years liberal. And we're at the tail end of this 40-year conservative cycle that not only hit the United States. I mean, Reagan and Thatcher came out at the same time. So here we are. There's a quiet health problem that damages your body every single day, and most people have no idea it's happening. High blood pressure. It's the #1 risk factor for mortality. Half of all adults, 1 in 2 people have it. 120 Life is a once-a-day functional drink made with ingredients that help support healthy blood pressure. It's not a pill, not a stimulant, not some trendy wellness gimmick, and it tastes great, it's refreshing, and it's made from a blend of superfruit juices. I have high blood pressure, and I love this drink. I literally use it every day. Over 1,000 health professionals have supported or endorsed its use. It's increasingly becoming a go-to natural tool in clinical settings, not just in wellness circles. Go to 120life.com, that's 120life.com, and use my code TOM, T-H-O-M, for 20% off. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. If your blood pressure doesn't come down, you get a full refund. Just go to 120life, 120life.com, and use the code TOM, T-H-O-M, to save that 20%. And don't wait until next month. You got nothing to lose except your high blood pressure numbers. Go to 120life.com and use my code TOM for 20% off. Use that code TOM today. These statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.